Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help, offering a wide range of vaccines including flu, COVID, pneumonia, and RSV immunizations. Visit your local Safeway or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy.
What do you consider an amazing invention? That's what the Chamber of Commerce wants to know. 10 Colorado inventions are competing to be the coolest new thing made in Colorado. There's a gadget that you hold in your hands to deal with extreme heat, designed for firefighters, construction workers, and athletes. And another invention that's a pair of glasses to help people with autism read facial expressions. You can vote on your favorite by finding the link in our show notes. I'm Arlo Pérez Esquivel. Coming up, Xcel Energy plans to pay more than $500 million to avoid a trial over its role in the state's most destructive wildfire.
An Xcel Energy power line was the most probable cause of one of those fires that actually led to the Marshall Fire.
The settlement was announced right before a trial was set to begin today. Then, an iconic attraction in the state could close after its own legal payout.
The Estefanos family wants justice and to make sure no other child dies like this again.
Plus, a new inductee in the Snowsports Hall of Fame who excelled at a time when skiing with a disability was practically unheard of.
And now you can go to virtually any ski area and get an adaptive lesson with a certified instructor.
It's Thursday, September 25th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Xcel Energy has agreed to pay more than $500 million to avoid going to trial over claims that it started Colorado's most destructive wildfire. The deal was announced yesterday, right before jury selection was to begin this morning, in a case against the largest utility in the state. CPR's Ishan Thakur has been following the case, which is part of a shift in who's liable for wildfires in the face of climate change. Ishan, what exactly was Xcel getting sued over?
So more than 1,000 plaintiffs, those include Marshall Fire survivors, insurance companies in Boulder County, they said that an Xcel power line, plus some loose wiring from telecom companies, caused one of the two fires that had combined to become the Marshall Fire. So you'll remember, the Marshall Fire scorched more than 1,000 homes, it killed 2 people, and it caused more than $2 billion in losses right at the end of 2021. So this case was about whether Xcel and the telecom companies should be held liable for starting one of those two beginner fires.
Okay, and that dispute, it was set to go to court. But instead, we learned of this settlement, which is still to be finalized. But in that agreement to settle, does Xcel admit to sparking the Marshall Fire?
No. So this whole time, Xcel maintains that its equipment did not cause the Marshall Fire, and it does not admit to any fault as part of the settlement. You know, a settlement was always a possibility, but this really came down to the wire. Xcel, for many months, had said it felt like it had a strong case because investigators had not been able to say for sure whether its equipment had actually caused the fire. There was this 2023 investigative report from the Boulder County DA and the Sheriff's Office, and that determined that an Xcel Energy power line was the most probable cause of one of those fires that actually led to the Marshall Fire. But kind of crucially here, investigators could not completely rule out the fact that the fire could have been ignited by an underground coal fire located in the same area. Xcel also contended as part of its defense that the 12 Tribes Christian sect, they're located nearby to where one of these ignition points are, that their fire, because they had done a controlled burn that day, that they should be held responsible for damages instead. And while they're not accepting responsibility for the fire, Xcel's case comes as other utilities in Oregon and California face similar massive payouts when they've been held liable for sparking wildfires, or when they've reached similar settlements. As we have more severe wildfires, more often, this is increasingly happening in the West, we might see this trend of utilities facing these big liabilities or jury judgments.
Now, the settlement. What does it mean for the thousands of people who lost property in the fire?
So it's not entirely clear yet, because the settlement is not yet finalized and we just have the broad contours of the deal. But my colleague Sam Brash, he spoke with one of the affected families yesterday. Tanya Summeru lives in Louisville. She lost her home in the Marshall Fire, and right now she has more questions than answers about the terms of the settlement. She said that she hopes it helps restitch neighborhoods. Her family moved 5 times due to the fire, and that had caused enormous mental strain and ongoing therapy bills. All of that led her to join onto this lawsuit as a plaintiff. Her family has managed to rebuild, but she knows that other plaintiffs in the case weren't so lucky.
I'm looking at a plot right now behind my house, and I know at least 3 families in my neighborhood would rebuild if they had enough money.
And again, to be clear, the settlement is not final, and it still has to clear all these hurdles, like being agreed to by all the individual plaintiffs in the case. Lawyers for both sides have 30 days to update the court about the status of the settlement.
Talking about the settlement, though, the projected figure that they're meant to pay is $640 million. That's a massive amount of money. So if it does go through, who pays for it? And I want to be really clear, is it Xcel customers that are on the hook?
So in a press release announcing this deal, Xcel said pretty definitively that customers would not be paying for the settlement. The company says its insurance policies will pay for a little bit less than half of the cost related to the settlement, and the rest is being split between Xcel and 2 other telecom companies who are also defendants. But, what we've seen in recent years is that insurers have really jacked up some of Xcel's liability insurance premium, so what it uses to help pay for payouts like this. And typically in Colorado, those insurance costs get passed down to customers through our energy bills. Even if customers don't foot the full bill for this payout, we might see that the company claim it has less money to spend on upgrades in the future. And that's just one potential way lawsuits and settlements could affect Coloradans. And if this case had actually gone to trial, Xcel risked paying even more, maybe over $1 billion in eventual damages if it was found liable.
CPR's Ishan Thakur, thank you.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to take us to a different legal settlement. This one takes place across the state at an iconic Colorado attraction. You might be familiar with it. It's Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. Here, a tragic mistake in 2021 led to the death of a 6-year-old girl. Since then, her family has been fighting for accountability. Now, a jury has awarded them more than $200 million. It's a legal victory for the family. It also creates uncertainty around the future of the park. To break it all down, we're talking to CPR's Molly Cruz. Molly, what exactly happened at Glenwood Caverns?
So it was Labor Day weekend in 2021. 6-year-old Wongol Estefanos was spending the evening at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park with her family. She boarded the haunted mine drop with her uncle, but when the ride reached the bottom, Wongol's uncle turned to check on her, only to realize she wasn't in her seat. Wongol had not been properly strapped into her seat. She had somehow been seated on top of it, completely unprotected.
That is awful. Were there not any warnings about that?
Yeah, so when they investigated the incident, they realized that the alarms in the control booth had gone off multiple times, warning that her seat wasn't safe, but the operators didn't respond the way they were supposed to. A state investigation later found no mechanical issues. The ride functioned exactly as designed, so the problem was human. Safety warnings were ignored, and the system didn't have any built-in fail-safe to stop the ride from dispatching an unsecure rider.
So obviously mistakes were made, but then no criminal charges were ever filed against them. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so in early 2022, the local district attorney announced that despite the tragedy, they wouldn't be pursuing criminal charges. Prosecutors said they simply couldn't meet the legal standards of proving criminal negligence beyond a reasonable doubt. So for the family, it was a heartbreaking outcome, and it left a lot of people in the community feeling devastated.
So the family then pursued a civil case instead, right?
Right. So a jury has now awarded them $205 million, which includes $82 million for emotional distress and loss, and an additional $123 million in punitive damages meant to send a clear message: this should never happen again. The verdict didn't just target Glenwood Caverns. The ride's manufacturer, Soaring Eagle, was also held partly responsible.
And the family, how are they feeling about this outcome?
So the family's attorney, Dan Kaplis, says the Estefanos family wants justice and to make sure no other child dies like this again.
And the amusement park had never admitted fault, had denied fault. So their mission was to, try to protect others.
Now, no one is denying that this is a tragedy. I want to take a moment to look at the other side. Adventure Park is a well-known destination here in Colorado. So what does this mean for them, and more broadly for the area's economy?
Yes, so the amusement park is a major employer in the area and a pillar of Glenwood Springs' tourism industry. In a statement, Glenwood Caverns officials said the size of the award by the jury, quote, puts the existence of Glenwood Caverns at serious risk. So they warned it could lead to layoffs, shuttering of operations, or even bankruptcy.
CPR's Molly Cruz. Thank you.
Thanks, Arlo.
The next time you head out skiing or snowboarding, I want you to take a look around. What's there in place to make that experience possible for people with disabilities? Things like accessible parking spaces, pathways, bathrooms, specialized sports gear. A Coloradan named Bob Meserve was a big part of making that happen. And all of that because of his incredible perseverance.
In the mid-'80s, when we were going to ski areas, there were a lot of challenges and tribulations. We would go to a ski area, and oftentimes the team would have to crawl in and out of bathrooms or crawl up and down stairs to get into the hotel, or wherever we were staying.
This weekend, more than 40 years later, Meserve is being honored for his leadership in advancing adaptive sports. Here's Bosley with his story.
I love being outdoors and throw skiing.
That love affair started at age 4 for Bob Meserve, who grew up in Pueblo.
You can always challenge yourself. You can ski fast, you can ski slow, you can ski all kinds of varied terrain.
He was an avid skier all through high school and in college at CSU. But one day, on one run, his life changed.
So I had a crash and I couldn't feel anything. But what was going through my head in the moment was, I'll be fine. They're going to take me to the hospital. I'll be fine. It took, several days of realization to sink in that, oh my gosh, I may never walk again in my life.
Meserve was just 20 years old in 1983 when a spinal cord injury left him paralyzed from the waist down.
I didn't even know for sure if I could get back on snow.
There was never a question about wanting to try, but back in those days, Meserve says the equipment needed, a sit ski, was still in development. He was the first to take sit gear down Vail Mountain, and he called it archaic.
It was a very long ski, and nobody knew how to teach. Nobody knew how to do anything with this thing. And I took a lot of crashes. I would go 15 feet and crash. My buddies picked me up. We'd go another 15 feet and crash. My buddies picked me up, and it was a long day.
There would be many long days, but Meserve stuck with it.
I provided a lot of input, with certain people that were coming up with all these new technologies, about what worked and what didn't work with the sit skis. So that was really, special for me.
By 1989, Meserve started to race again, and he started to win.
One of the really key moments of my life was being named to the U.S. Disabled Ski Team.
He medaled in para skiing and in wheelchair road racing and hand cycling. And still, his proudest accomplishments came after he retired from racing. In those early days before they had sponsors, he worked to help raise money to save the U.S. para snowsports teams. He served for more than 25 years on the board of Disabled Sports USA, now called Move United, which has expanded to 247 chapters across the country. He advised the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. He advocated for more opportunities for young people with disabilities, including getting ski instructors trained to help.
And now you can go to virtually any ski area and get an adaptive lesson with a certified instructor.
This weekend, Bob Meserve will be inducted into the Colorado Snow Sports Hall of Fame. He's being celebrated for leaving a lasting impact on snow sports. And to this day, Meserve still returns each year to ski the same run on Vail Mountain where he got hurt and the trajectory of his life changed nearly 42 years ago.
I think just perseverance is something I've always had inside of me, just to do better, to push harder, to go further, climb higher, all through life.
You can hear more from Meserve in his interview on the Colorado Matters podcast.
Additional reporting for today's show came from CPR's Sam Brash and Chandra Thomas Whitfield. Hope you got some sunshine yesterday. We are back to a stretch of hot, dry weather. Have a great day. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help, offering a wide range of vaccines including flu, COVID, pneumonia, and RSV immunizations. Visit your local Safeway or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy.